Okay, hello folks. My name is Fred Caney. Hello folks, my name is Fred Caney. I am the CEO and founder of Valley Bigfootin' and Inside Virginia Squatching. This evening we have Jeff Kelly from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. How you doing, Jeff?
My name's Kelly Shaw.
Kelly Shaw, I'm sorry. I'm tired. I've been in the wood.
You got me mixed up with the old Rev. Hey, I don't even have a beard, man.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Yesterday with a bolt action jammed up.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. I'm kind of ragged out right now.
You see at the bottom, or
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Now go.
the husband and
Where's
wife.
that? Who's echoing? Oh, any of y'all got headphones on? Derek, you got headphones?
I don't. I'll keep myself.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We'll find out who it was. No problem. If he's got a question, he can just pop back on and ask a question and everything too. But anyway, Jeff, explain yourself. Explain who you are and what. Kelly. I'm tired. I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning in the woods. I'm kind of bezazzled.
I know we both have similar names, but I'm the better looking one.
Oh, okay. All right, Kelly. Okay. Anyway, tell people who you are and what you do and why you do it.
My name's Kelly Shaw. I'm with the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. We really love bigfooting. We got into it hardcore about 2007. Jenny, Derek, and I are pretty much the core founders, and then we have a bunch of other friends and family that like to go bigfooting with us that we consider members too, but we're kind of the faces and spokespersons and the organizers of Sasquatch, Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. We love to tour Bigfoot sighting hotspots. There's nothing better than getting into a Bigfoot sighting area, taking a look around, and camping. And, you know, every once in a while you get lucky. Not very often. You get skunked more than any sport out there. But we enjoy it, you know. We've all had family and friends living where we live that have seen Bigfoot, including Derek had a sighting when we were pretty young. And me and Derek just kind of got fed up with what was going on in the world of Bigfooting, and especially with some of the hoaxes that went on back then. And we're like, you know what, we know this thing's out there. We want to go out and get either the physical evidence, or our number one goal is to get that quality open sighting video to really say, hey, you know, this creature's here. I don't think you necessarily need the body. You get a video like they have on Animal Planet or the National Geographic Channel of a bunch of highland gorillas and stuff. You can get in there and get that type of footage of Bigfoot. I think it's going to put him in the textbooks. That's going to be undeniable proof. You know, that's what we want to do, and that's how we do it. Bigfoot sighting hotspots is where it's at. If Bigfoot's being seen there over the last 40, 50, 100 years and is still being seen there, that's where you need to be, and that's where we try to put our resources. We did over 36 Bigfoot expeditions last year, and this year I think we hit 38. I believe we broke that record. I'll have to go back through and count them again. I don't know, we may have blown it out of the water, but yeah, we like to be out there. We could have the fanciest equipment out there, but we put our money into getting into the field.
Cool. That sounds good. I noticed on one of your you got a photograph that you got it was a long range shot. I think it was your one of your partners heard something or caught something at a long range. It was like it was like part of a face that was standing behind a a brush pile or fern trees, spruce trees or something like that. Long range, it was like a face. Remember that one? That was about, I think, about a month ago.
Oh, a month ago. Um,
Or somewhere around that time. It was zoomed in from it was a good zoom in shot from. I think it was something like y'all heard something or seen something or one of your partners
we
did.
got we got some eye shine a couple of months ago. Is probably the best footage we've had recently. We What happened is a rancher in the area that knows who we are got a hold of us and said, hey, guy just come running into the local store just yelling and hollering and all excited and telling everybody in this gas station along the main road that he had just seen a Bigfoot. Overcast day, about noon, and so the rancher got a hold of us and said, hey, I know you guys big up Bigfoot up here, and someone just saw one. So we come in 2 days after the actual sighting, and Sasquatch Canyon. It's been named Sasquatch Canyon because there's been so many Bigfoot sightings there since the 70s. I mean, in the 70s, that's when it got nicknamed that. Okay, sighting just 2 months ago. We're there 2 days after, and we've already got game cameras deployed all over the area. And we normally don't hike on a no moon night, but I mean, we'd like to go out on a full moon for safety and everything, but we went in at night and got a bunch of those cameras to bring them closer to this guy's sighting. That's what we did, is just went out, got them, brought them in, and when we were collecting 2 of the cameras by a sighting location that happened in 1977, that we found a structure, so we keep cameras around this structure. We went in and got those, and when we were crossing the river, we could hear something walking in the water to the right of us. We could smell the stench of something, and Caleb and Derek, I think, commented a couple of times that they felt like we were being watched. And we got some, by one of the game cameras up by the structure, we got some really good eye shine of something standing there looking at us. And I mean, if it was an owl, great. I don't know, may have been what we were smelling and everything. Okay, the weird thing is about 10, 20 seconds after that, Derek goes walking off in the direction where we had seen the eye shine, because he kind of sensed something over there, and then it growled. I mean, and every one of us in the group heard it just grumbling, growling at us, whatever it was. And last I checked, owls don't growl, you know, a deep guttural like a bear would. I don't know, maybe it was a bear standing on its hind legs that we got the eye shine from that eventually growled. But yeah, we got that on video. We didn't see the eye shine while we were there. We saw it in the footage when all of this happened later on. But yeah, that just happened to us a couple of months ago, 2 days after a sighting. And now we have cameras that we've been servicing within 1 mile to 5 miles in a radius around where this guy saw this Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Now, on the game camera, when you saw the videos, do they look like deer in the headlight looks, or they look like just like two, well, were they yellow, fluorescent green, fluorescent yellow, or how was it? Or was it like two, or was it like just two marbles?
Well, here's the deal. As we were using infrared cameras, so just about everything that gives off light's about the same color when it hits those cameras. But if you watch the video, it looks more yellowish than anything. And, you know, they just didn't sit and hover there. I mean, they moved to the left and right a little bit and even squinted a little bit before they disappeared.
Ooh, that's cool.
And yeah, you go back to our recent uploads. It's like the 6th video down. It says, "Is this a Bigfoot watching RMSO or something like that?" You know, we don't know what it was. We just smelt something, heard something growling. We also heard it moving in the water and in the woods, and the camera got the eye shine. None of us saw it while we were there. Something else is when we're using those IR lights and IR cameras picking up IR, unless it's coming from the actual source, the human eyes don't pick up on that. So rarely are you going to see the reflection of IR, but our camera did. So
Okay. Um,
I think I know the picture that you were talking about before. Does it look like a picture of like a man's face, sort of, with fur and mud and something covering its head? Is that the picture you were talking about?
no, the picture I was talking about, it showed something zooming in, and it was behind a bunch of fern trees, probably like a couple hundred yards away,
Okay.
and it was like this much. Well, let's see, about the way
Yeah.
the picture shows that much.
Yeah, that's what I'm
oh
talking
yeah,
about.
that was in Montana. That was
Yeah,
Bulls Creek, Montana.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now was that a full blown female, male, or was it just a y'all don't know if it's
We don't know what it is. A viewer pointed that out to us in the background. We were up there filming a sighting report video. And Jenny's the one that actually did the voice for the sighting report video. We like to show viewers why we're into places. So when we go in scouting around, it's a challenge for us to get as close as we can to where the person actually saw a Bigfoot, and then we give the report like a newscaster would. We're giving the Bigfoot news, so to speak. And we're getting ready to shoot the video up on this Bulls Creek, and I just turned the camera on, and something mouth popped a couple of times down the mountain from us. And Jenny and I are both looking at each other, and I'm like, was that mouth popping? And she's shaking her head yes. And I start moving up towards her because she had a better view down the mountainside. So I was going up to the clearing that she was in front of, and it mouth popped again. So I come up over the lip, and I tried putting the camera on where I thought I heard it coming from. And if you see in the video, Jenny's actually pointing to the same place where I heard it. And I got the camera down there, was zooming around, scanning uh, all the trees and stuff slowly and everything, and we didn't see anything. And it never made another noise, and it doesn't necessarily mean it was a Bigfoot. I mean, bears are known for mouth popping, especially a mother bear, they say, communicates with their cubs with mouth smacks and pops and stuff. So, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
anyway, whether it's a bear or not, or a Bigfoot, we want to see it.
yeah.
And after a couple of minutes of scanning, we kind of gave up on seeing it, and Jenny did the report while I sat and filmed. And then God, about a month later, after we put the video together and uploaded it, a viewer's like, hey, there's a face right here and stuff, and you get viewers that see dozens of faces in your videos, but you go through down the list of emails or whatever that people send you, and when you get the time, you check out their concerns or whatever, and hey, we saw it, and it was a great looking face. Could have been I don't know, it could have been light. It looked to me like a grizzled uh, mountain man with I don't know, like a deer skin hide draped across the top of his head. But then again, there's the argument that it could have just been a log that's rotted just right to look like a grizzled old man with a deerskin hide over the top of his head. But there was something down there, mouth popping at us, and not saying it was that. But yeah, we did capture something that looked like that, and and it's not the footage we're looking for. We want indisputable, clear, out in the open. But we like to look at it and say, hey, maybe it's something, maybe it isn't, probably not. It's hard to catch Bigfoot, but yeah, we want the next Patty video and won't be happy until we get that clear, open footage.
Cool. Now I'm gonna ask you a question. I ask everybody this: what do you or Jenny think Bigfoot is?
Chad.
Go ahead.
I'll let one of you guys answer.
How about you, Jenny?
Actually, I think it's an animal. I don't necessarily think that it's anything supernatural. I just think that it might be. Um, I don't think it's an actual human being either. I think that it's an intelligent animal. That's what I think.
Uh,
Maybe if I come face to face with it, I'll change my mind.
have you ever seen a Sasquatch up close?
No, no, sir.
Have you ever seen a Sasquatch up close, Kelly?
No, I have not seen this creature out in the open or clear enough to be able to make the claim that I seen Bigfoot.
I had one 5 feet in front of me back in '81. He walked out and stood there and looked at me.
Oh,
And
so you
his
probably
and
know.
and his face. I've seen over 80 in my area. There are some with hair on their face and some with no hair on their face, but they all looks like a human.
Oh, really? That's
Wow.
interesting.
But
Derek's seen one close enough that he could have reached out and touched it.
ooh, that's cool. Yeah, because when this one stepped out in front of me, I mean, I had my back turned, and when I turned back around, he was standing there. I froze. He looked at me, I looked at him, and he turned around and walked away. But he was scared to live away. But I didn't feel no threat or nothing, and everything.
How big was he?
Huh?
How big was he?
About 9.5, 10 foot tall, about 4.5 across shoulders.
Oh,
Head about that wide, eyes about that far apart, and his eyes was what they call a midnight chocolate.
oh.
His
What did
face his
what did
face was a kind of a chocolate brown too. Kind of a not I would kind of like an aborigine dark tan type thing. But they're actually their hair is thin on their arms. It's just a dark skin that makes them look like they got real thick hair.
so what did it come across as to you?
Well, let's see. I first learned about them from the Gilman Patterson film. Then I forgot all about it. Then when I moved moved to a place with my dad, we was squirrel hunting one day, and I was going up the mountain. I done even forgot about it. And then when I turned back around to go back up the hill, boom, he was standing there looking at me. And it was just like, and the look on his face was blank. Like, yeah, okay, now I know what a human looks like, and he turned and walked away. And everything. It's pretty freaky. But I tell you, Squatch, I guess it depends on what areas you're in of the country. They could be aggressive or they could be non-aggressive. I've been growled out of a birthing area. I got three birthing areas in my three birthing spots in my area. I've been growled out, and you don't want to be around them when they growl because the three of them together will vibrate you on the growls.
I don't
Now
think
I'm hoping Kelly gets one. I'll hope Kelly and be standing there, and all of a sudden one will just be by, like, hey, how you doing? And keep on going, within eyeball distance. But
That would be
Kelly,
awesome.
yeah, but Kelly, I want to hear your version of what you think Sasquatch is. I think he's a human hybrid. Of course, I'm part of Johns Hopkins University too. Okay, so
Well,
anyway,
what I think Sasquatch is a natural creature of the planet,
okay, I agree with that.
primate. So that right there says he's related to humans somehow. Chimps 99% related to us. Perhaps Bigfoot's 99% related to us, but Bigfoot don't cloak. Bigfoot don't float
Thank
on
you,
air.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's we find solid physical evidence that this creature has mass and it's physical, and it rips trees and saplings in half and sinks in 5 inches near the hard rock river banks and stuff. The one where we tracked it, where it leaped across the river. I mean, it was sinking into this river rock and stuff an inch or two, but when it leaped the river, I mean, 5 inches it sunk in, and it's the same place 2 months ago that we got the eye shine at night is where we found some of the best footprints we ever found. And I'm sorry, something that cloaks and is supernatural. isn't going to sink in 5 inches when it leaps a 15-foot river.
Yeah, I can see that. But how
So
big?
it's
How
a
big?
it's a physical being.
Okay. How big was the track?
17 inches long with about an 8-inch toe splay on one of the on the best footprint, and it averaged about 7 inches wide until it got to the hill. Yeah, something. That looks like it's pretty close to 17 inches.
It's 13 3/4. It crossed behind
Looks
me.
bigger on webcam, I guess.
Yeah, but it's 13 3/4. But this was this
Uh-huh.
one walk come out behind me when I went out when I was turkey hunting, and it was raining, and he stepped on the berm and crossed over and was watching me. I got him watching me. I got juveniles following me. I got video of juveniles following me. Ah. Okay, now my next question is, um, explain to people how y'all approach and research certain areas. Say like like where y'all at right now. How do y'all approach going into it and researching that area, Kelly?
All right, I was waiting for Derek or Jenny to say something. I've been doing all the talking.
Well, I'll tell you what, Derek, go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
I would have to say, for us to actually go to an area, Kelly's touched base on it probably the best so far. We actually research the sightings, and when we start seeing repeated sightings in specific locations, and I would probably put that in, say, maybe a 15-mile span, maybe, that you're getting repeated either sightings or history of an animal being within the area. That's what first intrigues us. That's what first gets our feet on the actual ground and going into an area. As for a game plan as we walk into the area, we pretty much will almost. My personal feelings is the most natural that you could actually be, the better off that you are.
Hmm.
If you walk in there just like it's an ordinary everyday hike, I think you got every bit as good a chance of coming across a sighting or a Sasquatch as if you were down on all fours, tracking the ground. That being said, we usually do spread out in a pretty good span as we walk into an actual canyon or an area and looking for animal signs, trails, matted down grass, um, bushes, branches being actual, snapped off somewheres. And I'm not just talking big old huge, aspens that are 4 inches around that have been snapped off. Obviously, stuff like that gets our attention depending upon, the circumstances of that snap off being there. But I'm talking about movement through the natural terrain that you're in. Something moved through here, and that's what I am first when I am looking at a terrain. That's what I'm looking at, and then we're going to go from there and try finding physical sign of it somewhere, whether it's either prints, food. I mean, obviously, food, we're constantly, in almost every one of our videos, we're busting out on, here's some elderberries here, here's some raspberries, some wild strawberries, acorns, or whatever it is. As Kelly would put it, Sasquatch lettuce. I think that's what he calls it. But I think that's the best way to walk into any research habitat or potential habitat of where these animals are. Um, Throw my 2 cents on beliefs of what a Sasquatch is. Write down one of the actual tree lines of what us humans are. Um, I absolutely believe it's an animal. I, such as yourself, have been within close enough distance as a 10-year-old boy. And what's funny is my sighting happened in '81 as well, the summer of '81. And this thing, I saw it actually coming out of a park, heading down, just coming out of a park towards me and a buddy were just going up to a local convenience store. And when we saw somebody coming, we decided that we were going to ditch it down underneath some weeds in an old apple orchard that was in my neighborhood. Remember looking out, seeing this thing. It had passed underneath the street light, and all I saw was just this huge silhouette of just a massive animal. I can't say that it was 9 or 10 feet tall, but it was probably 7 feet tall at least, and just the hair jagged down its arms and just down the whole torso of this thing and its head. This thing walked, within a couple feet of me. I could have reached out and grabbed this thing's leg, and so as Kelly pointed out, these things are an animal of mass, and definitely have no desire to corner one or, end up getting between it and a youngin, an infant or a juvenile, because I don't care who we are, we're going to lose that fight. Because I think by the time we could get a bear spray or pull our 45 out, he probably snapped one of our necks at least first. So it is an animal and something to be aware of while you're out there, in my opinion. So there you go.
Yeah, now I do know that squatches are very curious, especially the juveniles. Like in my area, I live in Virginia. I live in a place called the Shenandoah Valley, which is like a gigantic salad bowl. And I've learned, basically, the squatches in my area, they travel up and down the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Appalachian Trail in the Shenandoah Valley. And I've learned that you don't go near birthing areas, but the juveniles will follow you. I got 4 black ones following me constantly. But right now, there ain't none in the area because it's hunting season, rifle season, and they migrate and everything. But it's pretty cool, though. Jenny,
Yeah.
what's your how do you go about approaching an area?
I
What,
like to get in tune with everything. I like to make sure that I can hear everything so that I um, feel like if anything moves or makes a sound or something slips past the edge of my sight line, I can see that. I'm always looking for footprints, but mostly I um, am just looking for movement in the bushes, the trees, the top of the ridge lines, and I'm big on finding footprints. I find a lot of footprints, and I've even found some handprints. So um, I just try to be really aware of my surroundings. So every little noise or movement, that's the only way that you're going to pick up on these things. And usually, if I see something out of the corner of my eye, I won't whip my head around and look at it. I just keep looking out of my peripheral vision, so
hmm
that if something is there, that I can get more apt to stay in my vision if I don't turn my head and look at it. So
Ah,
I just like to keep my ears and my eyes open. And sometimes I get a feeling. It's not even something that you can hear or see, but you can feel something watching you. Um, so I just like to keep in tune with everything. That's kind of my deal, how I go about it.
Jenny
oh,
spots all the game, it seems like, when we're out on expeditions. Um, a lot of the great wildlife videos and photos that we get, she 9 times out of 10 spots them first. And
that's the way it usually works with a woman.
so I think if we do get that clear open Bigfoot sighting, nine times out of 10 it'll be her getting it for us.
Cool. Okay, Leo, you got any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Um,
I've seen a lot of your videos and things that are interesting. I can just watch anybody walk through the mountains and talk about Bigfoot, and it's just mellow and easy, and I enjoy it, and I watch a lot of your stuff. Um, and I may have seen it and not remember, but do you all video behind yourself? You know, so if something is following or back behind you, do you
We
do that, or have you tried that?
Yeah, I
we
have.
yeah we all have. We're really behind on the footage. We have so many hours of filming in the back or the left or the right. We're probably 20, 30 hours behind on going through that type of footage, and so we need to get caught up.
Mm. What kind of cameras do y'all use to do y'all's research with?
We
Oh,
have,
several brands.
yeah, we have GoPros and we have handhelds, and I don't know. You know more about that, Kelly.
We have action cameras. I'll name some of the cameras I have. I love Canon cameras. Hey, Canon, send me a camera. They're a really good brand of camera. They're one of my favorite to use. Our night vision cameras are the Bell and Hal cameras, and we love Canon's A10 night vision camera. That's a sweet deal. And then Derek has several nice cameras for our drones and some handheld cameras of his own.
Oh, drones. Okay, yeah, that's a good subject. Derek, so you like drones?
Absolutely, I do like flying the drones. I do believe they're a pretty good resource for some good recon. While we were out there squatching, I can put a drone on top of a mountain in a matter of a couple minutes instead of us having to spend the next 5 hours hiking up this stupid mountain, especially when you're starting somewhere around 8,000 feet and you got to make it to 10,000 feet. If there's not a purpose or not something that we want to be climbing and wasting our time on that, a drone is an absolute great resource to have to get an overhead perspective, looking for water sources and different things of anything of interest that would want us to basically hike up a mountain. So we have used it in quite a few different locations, and just giving us an overhead perspective. Just for one, just this last summer, we went up to a place up in the Wilderness of No Return that is up in Idaho, central Idaho, in a place called Deadwood. And the footage that we got of just that whole area, that whole gold mining area, the abandoned homes and stuff up there, and giving you an overall perspective of the entire basically sighting location that you could pretty much see any and everywhere of where these sightings happened. It helps give viewers, at least in a social media area, more of a hands-on view of what was going on there, and you could put it together and visualize it. It actually allows you to enter into that experience that we get to share with you guys when we were out there running around in these mountains. So I do love flying the drones. I've built quite a few of the drones and flew them, but at the end of the day, I keep on bouncing myself right back to simplicity and picking up a Phantom 2 from DJI, and the cameras that they have on there are a beautiful camera. They work exceptionally well. You get extremely good clarity out of them, and they're quite easy to fly. So for those that are more passionate about the video, just do yourself a favor and go out there and buy a Phantom 3 Advanced or something. I wouldn't go off and blow your money on something too expensive until you're quite comfortable with using a drone, because they're not cheap by any means. But for those that are more passionate about putting them together, you can build a really nice drone and get it out there and flying. So I recommend it to anybody, honestly. It's a good tool and a good resource to have.
Oh,
We
cool.
also love our cameras on the ground. You just, in my opinion, you can't beat a game camera.
Oh,
Get,
absolutely. I mean, if
yeah.
you're going to bring up game cameras, you absolutely need to. Kelly's not into audio as much as I'm into audio, but the last video that we put out there, we had picked up on some absolutely primate sounding whoops and howls that are a part that we got from a game cam. Game cam with that microphone on there. We'd have never got it without them. So whether or not people like to throw them out there and use them or not, or think that, oh, well, Sasquatch can see it or not, I personally love the audio, and I recommend everybody to go out there and listen to it and just think about what it is you're listening there. I'm not going to go out and say it's one thing or another because I don't see what it is, but it is some absolutely awesome audio, and I freaking love it. I think it's great evidence to be picked up.
It's the last video that we just uploaded on RMSO Bigfoot YouTube. It's the very latest. It's an expedition video, and we pick up the game cameras, and we put the game camera footage at the end. And that vocalization's on there. It vocalizes pretty close to the camera, it sounds like, and it lasts, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds. And I don't know, elk and deer and bear, they make a whole host of vocalizations and stuff. And, it could very well be one of them, but I've never heard a vocalization quite like what we captured on this game camera.
Cool. Okay, we have a question from the chat room. It says, has anyone figured out the migratory routes, through winter routes?
Well, we've found in one of our areas that they usually come through during the fall, but that doesn't mean that's the way it is everywhere, but we get a lot more activity in our areas through the end of August through the 1st of November.
What about the summer? Do y'all get anything during the summer months?
Summer seems to be a rough stretch for us. It's almost like the dead of winter. I mean, we don't get as much activity in the summertime. The areas that we get the activity in the fall, we still don't know where they're at during the height of summer. We have a good guess. They're as high as possibly they can be, just like the elk. The elk want to stay cool, and then elk want to stay where the mosquitoes aren't. So I'm sure the Bigfoot are staying high in the dead of summer.
Yeah, it's completely like with me, like in my area, summertime is the best time, and fall and winter is the worst time. What was you saying?
We do have one spot that's pretty hard to get into, so we rarely go. It usually takes about 8 hours to do a hike in and out, and
Wow.
we do get up over 10,000 feet, and we have had quite a bit of activity in that area. But in the summer, you usually have to be over 10,000 feet around here to get some activity in the middle of the summer.
What do you?
That being said, just to add to that as well, 4th of July, we actually had an experience with me being up with a girlfriend and the kids that was right around, I don't know, how high is it where we were there? It's probably
9,600
about
feet.
9,600 feet. Yeah, it's up there, and we're talking backcountry. We're talking 20 miles out in the wilderness is about as where we were camping. And that was a pretty good experience that we had that was 10, 15 feet away from us at the time. So, and it was a juvenile kind of young son, 12-year-old that was with me that literally had the eyewitness account on that. So that just goes along with hotter months being here in Utah. The higher it up, probably the better off that you're going to come across one of these animals.
Oh, okay. All right. Um, Kelly,
Mhm.
what is the number one advice you would give to somebody if they say, "Hey, man, I want to learn and I want to get into squatching"? Go.
Well, you definitely need a way to record your evidence. So a tape measure, a notebook, and a decent camera. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get started, but you want to be able to record your experience, especially if you have the experience, and get out to places where people see Bigfoot. In the area you live in, you may have heard of people that have seen Bigfoot that doesn't report it to anybody that's going to put it on Facebook or BFRO or whatever. I think more sightings go untold, unreported. I mean, 90% of them are that way. I think only 10% or less actually report their sightings to somebody. So,
Okay.
saying that, if in your general area, if you've heard of a lot of people seeing Bigfoot in a certain area, go in and look around. Um, what we like to do is we'll go into a Bigfoot sighting area and we like to do like a daycation into the area and scout the area. Then once we've figured out where these sightings are, we try to find a place to hike at or near them, and we also like to find a place to camp. And then we come back and do a full-blown expedition. We'll spend 3 days to a week in the spot camping and hiking around, and that's pretty much how you Bigfoot.
What's the
In
worst?
the way
What's
we
the
do it.
what's the worst thing that ever happened to y'all when y'all was out researching?
Oh,
How about you, Derek?
Well, I'm going to have to say one of the worst things, and I mean it wasn't that negative, but it was early spring, a lot of runoff. We had gone back into one of our best research areas, and on the way coming back out of the area, mind you, there's just a good maybe 4 or 5 foot stretch that you can actually walk. It's on just kind of dirt, mud, and a little bit of vegetation, and then it's a cliff that goes down to about 100 feet, straight frickin' down. And I was trying to avoid because it was still a little icy and a lot of runoff, so it was muddy and kind of wet. So I was kind of taking a little route that was a little keeping myself away from the cliff, and the entire hillside started sliding. And I mean, I just knew I was going down. I just instantly just kind of froze because if I knew if I moved something, it was going to get worse. And it took probably, I mean, both Kelly and Jen were sitting there, and I think it probably scared the hell out of them as much as it did myself, because honestly, if I think if I wasn't experienced at what I was doing and I might have panicked, I think I'd have gone over an edge, and you'd have been choppering my ass out of there because it would have been an ugly thing, and that's probably one of the worst and scariest things. So to go along with the question that you asked Kelly there, be prepared for wherever you go. Have yourself a good pack, first aid, rations, lots of water, and just absolutely be prepared for the unexpected. That's my advice. If you're going to go out and you're going to play, be bear aware first of all, because chances are if you're going out there hunting for a Sasquatch, you're going to be in an area where it's got to be able to support a Sasquatch, which means it's going to have large predators, mountain lions, bears, etc. So
Yeah,
be bear aware of
our
your
worst time
environment
out.
at all times.
My personal worst time out Bigfooting was when we had a weekend where Jenny and I got harassed by a couple of black bears pretty much most of the weekend, and we didn't sleep at all. The very first night, I mean, it started off to be a good night. We saw a wolf, observed it for about a minute and a half that night, just after the sun went down, and then once we got back to camp, we're like, oh, cool, that's a wolf, and we had taken video of the wolf, and it just didn't show up. We didn't know it at the time until we got home that this video didn't actually show up of a wolf. That's a rare sighting in Utah. And we get back to camp and everything, kind of excited about that and getting dinner set up, and this is after dark, and we started having black bears vocalizing on either side of the camp, and they were communicating to each other through our camp, and that bothered me. So after it went on for a while and they got closer and stuff, I got out my shotgun and shot into an embankment, to scare them off, and it did. They went off and started vocalizing back and forth at a further distance and stuff. But after we went to bed, they come back to our camp, and one of them crapped right next to our tent. And so we didn't sleep at all that night. I kept the fire stocked up all night because they wanted to hang around our camp that night for some reason. And so that turned out to be a bad weekend. We're up there to see Bigfoot, not get harassed by black bears.
Okay, I got a question. We got another question for you. From Leanne the Cat Wallace, and she asked, some say Bigfoot is dangerous, and others say they're harmless. What are the researchers' opinions on this? What is y'all's opinion on it?
My opinion is they're both. Just like a person, I think it depends on where you're at, which one it is, what you're doing. I think that for the most part, and in our experience, they're very, very timid, curious creatures. However, we have come across some really raunchy ones, and one in particular, and I believe that just like a person, everybody has a different personality, and so do they. And I think that there's maybe only 1 in 20 or something that can be a big turd, but they're out there because we've come across some pretty raunchy ones.
What about you, Kelly?
I agree. I think for the most part, they're shy, they're elusive, and they fear men for a good reason. And that's their number one protection against us is not to be seen. I mean, we can shoot them at a distance, but just like any animal, I mean, you can have the gentlest breed of dog, and every once in a while you'll have a mean one. Yeah, and so I think that's with any animal or creature. And heck, I mean, you may have a good Bigfoot that's gentle, elusive, wants to avoid man, and it has a bad night, a bad day. I don't know, get shot. I think they can turn dangerous in a real hurry. I mean,
imagine.
Even a little mouse, you corner a mouse, and it might, you never know how an animal's going to react when it's in a desperate situation. So, but I think Bigfoot are gentle and avoid us, and every once in a while one will get riled up, and during breeding time, that may be when the males get riled up. All males at breeding age have that testosterone running through your body, and some of them, I think, lose their head.
All right, how about you, Derek?
Well, for the most part, I'm going to agree with both Kelly and Jen on that as well. I think for the most part, they're observers. I think their curiosity keeps them at bay, but keeps them close enough that they want to know where man is. I think they border us a lot more than most people would ever want to admit, but I think that's just the more protective males within the area keeping an eye on where man is. Like any animal, if you back them into a corner, or if you get yourself in a situation to where you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, I don't care how gentle of a giant this thing might be, if it feels there is some type of threat either to itself or a young one, it's going to do what it has to do, and the next thing you know, you don't know anymore because you're now on the 411 tape somewhere as a lost human out in this forest, then you're not going to be found again. So it's just that simple. But for the most part, I think you could absolutely go out there, research your entire life, come across multiple of them, just as yourself. You had one walk out right behind you, 5 feet from you, and it didn't tear your arm out of its socket. It didn't. It doesn't have that desire, but it absolutely has that capability. So, you know, give or take, any given day. So.
Yeah, I've been a researcher since '81. I can agree with all three of y'all at the exact same time. Okay, Laney wants to know who can I ask this to? All right, Kelly. I know the answer to this. When is breeding season? Kelly.
I have no clue, but I have no clue when breeding season is, but it's probably the fall. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I believe. Okay, yeah, I believe the breeding season would be in the fall, and the reason I believe this, the late fall, is I think the mother, like all the other animals, are going to want to carry the infants through the winter. But the biggest reason is it seems like we smell the Bigfoot in the late fall more than any other time of the year. That's when we get the smell, and so I think the males are kind of going into a little bit of a musk and get a little bit stinky that time of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm associating the smell with breeding season.
All right. Now in my area, it's between the birthing time is between April and May in my area. You know, but of course I'm on the East Coast and everything.
Yeah, in one of our research locations, we keep finding footprints of the mother and one of the children. And the first year that we discovered the child's footprints, they were 7 inches in length. This was 3 years ago. And the mother, she's a little over 14 inches in length on her footprints. Well, the following year, we started finding her footprints again, and she carries the juvenile a lot. She's the one that Jenny and Brody has found the handprints of her putting her hand down, so we think that's when she has the infant in the opposite hand. And then when you're tracking her, every once in a while, she'll set the infant down, and you can see where the infant played. He'll make small structures. He will tear bark off of trees and everything. But anyway, we've seen him grow, at least his foot. Last year, his foot's 8 inches in length, and unfortunately, this year, well, it was early spring that we saw the footprints, and they were still about 8 inches in length, and we haven't seen them since early spring. The mom and the baby's footprints. I think on the expedition that we just uploaded the other day, I think Derek did find the mother's footprints, the little over 14 inches, but we didn't see the child's this time. But you can tell that the adults really try to walk in places that they're not going to leave tracks, and when they do, you can see that they try to get to through those areas as fast as possible. To me, they know that they leave tracks and they try not to leave them. And so juveniles and infants, a lot of times, their footprints, because they make a lot more mistakes or just haven't learned, that sometimes we'll find the infants first or the juveniles, and that'll lead us to the adults. But like I said, she used to carry that one a lot. And now she's setting it down more often and letting it play more often. So sometimes we'll find his footprints and it'll lead us to her.
Yeah, I think the smallest I found was 5 inches. Was the smallest track I found.
Uh-huh.
And I watched them grow up to from 5 up to 9 inches, and I haven't seen it no more this year.
One thing, I don't know if you noticed this with yours or if it's different, the Bigfoot in your area. but the juveniles' footprints are a lot more narrower in proportion to the adults. It's when they start hitting about 14 inches that the foot really starts to spread. That's what we're noticing in the footprints that we're finding in our area. A lot of people will like, that's human, but it doesn't have an instep. It's got the Bigfoot shape, but they are a lot more narrower in proportion.
Yeah,
It's not.
I've noticed that the male's heels are wider than the female. The female's got a narrower heel than the males. I've noticed that because I got one, I got a bunch of each, But the 5-incher looked identical to a 5-year-old kid. The, but as it grew, you can tell that the foot was getting wider and wider and wider to a point, but yet it was getting longer too.
We had we had a couple that I'm not for sure, but this is my guess, is we had two um, that were pretty close in length to 14 inches. One was a little bit bigger, one was a little bit smaller, but they were both pretty much 14-incher, but one was much, much wider. And I was thinking maybe, this is just a guess, that maybe there was an older female and a younger female, and the older and heavier she gets, the wider her foot gets. But that's just a guess. What would you think?
Yeah, because the female tracks that I found, the toes are spread wider, but the heel is narrower. But it seems when she's carrying, I've noticed when she's carrying, let's see, I think 2 of them this year had a set of twins. So that's why I get 4 of them following me. But I've seen her footprints when she's carrying her youngs and when she's not carrying her young. Her foot's not as wide when she's not carrying them. But when she's carrying them, you can see her toes are spread a little further.
Yeah, they splay a little bit more when they're distributing that weight.
Yeah, yeah. Leo, you got any questions?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna let Leo take it for about a second here. I got to go use a little boys' room real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll take it. I have seen on one of your videos where you were talking about coming back out and you had been left a nice putty gray present in the path. I was wondering what else, what are some of your more significant finds on your way back out? Or, during your hikes and walks and
Yeah.
I think our epic Bigfoot expedition was our biggest find. When we went in on that expedition that day, once we got in about a half a mile or so, that's when we heard something starting to parallel us and following us, and shortly after that, we would get a whiff of it. And then once we got back into the canyon a ways, it's like the whole family was there. We found the one that leaves the 17-inch tracks, the one that leaves the 14, the child's footprint, the child's handprints and stuff. And then on the way in, there's this area where we always find these rock stacks, and they're completely within a human's realm to be able to make these rock stacks. So we've always kind of ignored them. But this particular day, Jenny and I believe it was Brody decided, hey, let's make one of these rock stacks. So they made a little rock stack and whatever. But anyway, we go back in and we find all this great stuff, handprints, the smell, everything going on. And on our way back out, we find the footprints of the one that we heard following us that day, and it's the one that leaves the 19-inch footprints. Well, anyway, it come down off the mountain right near where we built the little stack where we find lots of rock stacks. It come down and walked up the riverbed, and it built a rock stack right next to the one that these guys built earlier in the day. And then we casted one of the footprints, one of the really nicer ones, right next to that rock stack. And we don't usually gift with food because we don't want it to fall in the wrong hands like a bear or whatever. But because of the situation, what was going on that day, Derek took a big old handful of almonds and laid it on top of the rock stack that these 19-inch footprints come up. And you could tell that we were being shadowed that whole day, even on the way out, and kept smelling it and everything. So pretty good idea, whatever made that rock stack watched us leave those almonds before we walked out that day.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The same the same canyon that this actually happened, myself, Brody, and took my family back into Sasquatch Highway, and on the way back out, it was pretty much the same type of experience that we were having that day, where you were constantly being shadowed, you know, paralleling, getting acorns or getting pine cones. I think we had 3 or 4 pine cones that were thrown at us throughout that experience as well. But on the way back out, I had picked up a stick from back in a place where you first enter in what I personally call Mirkwood, because once you get there, everything just seems to darken up, and you get down into all these pines, and it's just cool. What can I say? But we were back in there, and I had picked up an actual walking stick that I had handed to Shelly, so she could utilize that on the way back, walking back out to help her get down some of the hills. And after we had been followed back, couple, I guess just at the end of it, when we got closer to the mouth of the actual canyon where you enter into it, there's this big, huge boulder that sits right off to the side of the actual path or the trail that leads into it, and something had actually picked up the basically exact same size stick from the same place, the same area where I had picked this one up, and laid it on the side of this boulder. And I mean, with it being right where it is, it was not there on our way in. So I believe it actually imitated what I had done and picked it up and just kind of left it for us as a gift as we were walking out of the canyon. So that would be something else that I relate to it, observing and imitating what we had done. So.
Brody and I experienced the similar thing, and it used chokecherry wood. And what happened is we went into the same area that Derek and his family had the same experience, but we went back in there, and we were getting a lot of wood knocks that day. And we're not like finding Bigfoot. We don't go out and scream into the woods and try and get a response. We don't go out and wood knock and try and get a response. Once in a great while, we do it in response. And we try not to do that because we don't speak their language, and we feel that it scares them off or whatever. But anyway, this day, Brody and I are listening to wood knocks all day, and on our way out, I mouth popped a couple of times because we were actually leaving, and we don't leave until nightfall, especially when Brody goes. Brody makes us use every inch of the day on a hike, unless of course it's a night hike. But we didn't have any of our night gear on this particular one, so we're trying to get out before dark. And we come up along this flat stone in the narrow of the canyon. There was nothing there on the way in, but on the way out, there was a big, heavy, thick piece of chokecherry that, you know, about twice as big around as a baseball bat, and you could see on either end where it had been bashed into trees or whatever, where the bark had been bashed off. And it was, me and him kind of went in a little bit of state of shock. It's like this thing that had been paralleling us all day and knocking all day got up ahead of us and left his knocking stick as a gift for us on our way out.
Okay, I got a question here. Let's see, let me find it here. Wait a minute. Find that question here. I lost it. Okay. Laney says, I saw a person commenting that the toe prints shouldn't be so far apart to make crisp toe prints compared to humans. But wouldn't that be because we wear shoes and they don't?
I've rarely seen crisp toes. Jenny and I one time seen really crisp toes in the snow, and then usually the ground is so hard and stuff that we get the outside edges of the toe and really don't get the gaps in between. Once in a great while you'll get one that steps in the mud and leave toes like that, but gosh, I've had so much experience bigfooting that a lot of times when I see someone with the cast that has these perfect toes with these perfect spreads, I'm like, huh.
Kind of throws it.
I don't see footprints like that very often. And you take your shoes off and you run around in the mountains and see what type of footprint you leave. It doesn't look like these people's casts that are making these perfect ones. But anyway, when the ground is like really dry and powdery, that's when you get some really crisp stuff, and unfortunately that's stuff that you really can't cast, this powdery dirt, but that's when you get good definition and the ridges and everything. It was on the Epic Bigfoot expedition that the youngster in the powder, boof, hit its hands when it went on all fours. Derek found those set of footprints and handprints, but yeah, the best stuff usually shows up in the dust, but it don't cast. And same with the snow.
Yeah, I guarantee you those crisp casts did not come out of the Rocky Mountains.
No, unless it's a mud hole.
Yeah.
But
and the mud's the perfect consistency.
in my answer to what that woman was asking, or excuse me, if that's who it was, I do believe that the reason why their toes are splayed more than a human's is because they don't wear shoes. When we wear shoes, it forms our foot, and it actually pulls in our little pinky toes and forms our foot into a nice little curve. And that's just my guess. And they don't wear shoes, so their feet are free to spread, and ours aren't.
And that's a better way for them to distribute their weight and everything. You know, we've become dependent on shoes, so we don't realize the advantages of being barefoot. It's a disadvantage to us. We've come to adapt to shoes. So I think those really good toe spreads, man, they're digging in. Yeah. I mean, they really use those toes.
Okay, question here. Can Kelly, can you no, Derek, can you describe what the Squatch's handprint looks like?
Well, we've come across quite a few of them where you actually got a lot shorter, kind of fat, almost squared out thumb. You'll have a very long, elongated hand. We're talking, golly, it was a good probably 7.5 inches across by about 11 from about the bottom of your palm to the tip of that fall, or the center finger. But the thumb was quite a bit shorter and fat, almost kind of blunted end on it.
Was it is it kind of like a human thumb, or is it up higher or down lower?
Flat
it actually seemed like it was a little bit lower, and a little bit more jutted out, kind of straight out from ours. Ours seems a little bit more rounded there, more kind of flat out and straight up. At least on the handprints that we've gotten, keep in mind that most of them were going up a hillside at the time. The one that we did find that was flattened out on the ground was one of the juveniles. It was an infant, and it was shaped rounded inwards like it had been out on all fours. And that shape actually seemed quite a bit different just because of how it was utilizing the hands at that point. So
All right.
I think that's probably the best description I could give of the handprints that we found.
All right. Have y'all ever found any birthing areas?
No, not that we know of.
No.
Not a birthing area, but there's a place in Sasquatch Canyon where we see the mom sets the juvenile down to play in a couple of spots where it will make these little, like 3 or 4 foot tall mini structures, just like the adults make the teepee type structures. And then, like we says, it'll do its little snap offs and tear the bark off of trees, and it's just amazing. You sit and find these structures and think, hey, this was probably, with all the Bigfoot evidence we're finding back here, this was probably Bigfoot that made this, because it doesn't make sense for a person. But you're still like, well, but it's still in the back of your head, well, maybe people did come in and make these. Well, then you're tracking a mother Bigfoot, because we often find the small footprints alongside of hers, and you can see where she's putting her hand down, climbing up to some of these flat hidden spots up on the side of the mountain, and she'll put her left hand down, and you just know she's probably carrying that infant, because she gets to these flat spots and she sets it down to play. So I don't know if you could call that a birthing area, but I guess they feel safe enough to let the baby play in these areas. And by the way, we think it's a baby. We think we've caught its crying on Derek's the day Derek was using the parabolic mic, or Brody or somebody.
How does
we
it
got some
sound?
crying.
How does it sound?
It's on our website. It's
All
on
right.
the audio section of our website, I believe, right, Derek? Don't we still have an audio tab?
It is absolutely on there, and when we caught that audio, it literally sounds like a baby crying. And when we caught it, we're probably 5 miles back out
It's
the middle of
creepy at
nowhere.
first because it sounded a lot like a human child crying, and
Absolutely.
it's kind of like, you feel for him. You're like, oh no, I hope it's not a human child out here lost. But then you find the juvenile's footprints and the mother side by side, and you realize that, hey, we probably just captured a baby Bigfoot crying. Yeah, go to www.rmso.net. Go to our audio tab, and I think we've got a dozen audios that are unusual enough that we put them on there, and one of them's this baby crying. And hey, maybe it was a bear. I know bears can make crying noises too. So.
Well, we heard one night, me and Daniel Benoit was out of his area, and we heard sound like a baby whining. So I got back to my house, and by here, and I went through every known animal that I know in the state of Virginia, from a newborn all the way up to an adult on crying or distress call. Nothing matched. I don't know, now if I listen to with Derek recording, it sounds the same, then I know what a baby Sasquatch sounds like. But I couldn't figure it out what it was. Even though I went through all these animals that I knew on distress calls, nothing matched. So it was wild. So
we've actually had ranchers within the area as well report the exact same sound, stating that they've heard babies crying. So
yeah.
Even the locals to Sasquatch Canyon have heard that. So in a sense, to answer your question about have we found a birthing area, without putting 2 to 2 together until really now and really thinking about it, chances are, yeah, we have. But at least we found an area that evidence points to where there's juveniles and infants within the area. So, but have we actually found like a habitat where a birthing may have actually taken place? I can't say that we've come across something like that yet.
okay, let me answer that question for you. That thing for you. The birthing areas that I found, the birthing bed, the birthing itself, They take a spot about 6 to 8 foot wide, 10 to 13 foot long. They line sticks around it, and they defecate all the way around it. And when that baby's born, the baby's like really wild. And the smell of that defecation scares it, makes it stay next to mom until she's ready to go. I found blood and I found afterbirth.
Oh, that's kind of gross.
And guess
Did you,
and guess what it come back as?
what's that?
Unknown primate. Unknown primate. So
That's
you know,
interesting.
it's pretty wild. But I got a question for Jenny here. Jenny, have you ever tried singing a pretty song when you think a Bigfoot is around, or are they attracted to your singing?
No, I haven't sang. And I don't think it would be very pretty if I did. But I do whistle little songs. And
I've tried singing.
I will try now, but I have whistled little songs. And I've done that, and I've actually got a response from that.
I'll tell you what I did. When I go in the woods and I'm by myself, I come up with any off the wall song I can, and they will let me know if they like it or not. If they hate it, they'll throw a rock at me.
Oh, I might get a rock then.
Well, and the only reason I do that is for them to give the location away. Like when I walk through the woods, I feel like something's following me. I'll stop, I'll look around, and I'll take about 8 or 9 steps, and I'll stop. I'll grab a tree and stop in mid-step. For a squatch to watch you without being seen, he has to take that one last step to get in that perfect position. So he can see you, but you can't see him.
Okay.
And if you pay attention enough, he give his location away. And I got a couple videos of big males squatting down behind a tree. Look like a tree this way, and all of a sudden it comes straight out and bend down. You know, pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that is.
But singing does some off the wall stuff.
We'll have to try that for sure. Thank you.
Music too.
Oh, yeah. We haven't tried that either.
Has Kelly ever tried to sing one time out there?
No. Well,
I think if Bigfoot heard me scream, I'd definitely get my arms torn off.
oh, heck. No, I don't think any of us have tried to sing. But yeah,
Um,
it's really,
yeah.
thinking about that, I mean, we're always like Jen mentioned earlier, having just that perception of the surroundings. That's probably prevented any type of music or song or anything like that going on. At least as far as me being out there and concerned, because even while we're driving down a road, this reminds me of the old Deadwood again. We're driving down the road, coming back from what the heck that name of that city was, little tiny town up there in
Stanley?
central Idaho. We were coming back
Oh,
down,
Cascade.
and what was it?
It was either Cascade. That
It
was
was
Cascade.
Cascade we were coming back from, and even driving down the road on this washboard, I still picked up whoops that went on just outside of the car coming out, from up on a hillside. So we don't listen to the music or anything like that, even while we're driving. When we're out there, we literally want to be in tune to the surroundings. But I agree with you that maybe it is something to spread our wings a little bit and maybe sing a little bit, or at least bring somebody that can sing a little bit, because I know I'm horrible at singing too. So,
Well,
or maybe
as
just
far
bring
as
some
music goes, one of the nights that Les Stroud and I was out there camping on the Bigfoot Highway, he played his harmonica one night, and a couple hours after he got done playing his harmonica, we did get a vocalization coming down the canyon, and it almost sounded like an elk that wanted to bugle, then it stopped, And so I'm not going to pin that one on Bigfoot, but I don't know. Maybe his harmonica brought in an elk to bugle at us.
What?
Go,
Go,
can I say something, Fred?
yeah, go ahead.
I think that not Iron Maiden blasting or anything, but if you're sitting quietly at a campfire and somebody has a flute or a guitar and just a little quiet, slow, pretty something, and stop, play a little bit, stop. I think that is, from the other things, Barb Shoop has a friend, Sam, that goes and sits. They have a lot of encounters, and he has a flute. And he'll just go sit out in the woods and, and play a little flute and sit there a few minutes. And they get a lot of response to it. So worth trying, but I agree. I wouldn't go in with a marching band.
Yeah. Well, maybe,
You know.
I have a small music box. I wonder if that would work, because that's kind of small and quiet, and that makes pretty noises. I wonder if
that yes, that it would be worth a try. What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
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 Okay, thanks, Fred. Go ahead.
Okay.
I say we get a little bit medieval here. We're going to bust out on some little bit of Celtic music, and I'll just bring a little speaker with me. Hook it up with the phone.
My heritage,
I like
man.
Celtic. I like Celtic.
Yeah. Okay. This is to Kelly, Jenny, and Derek. What language do you think the Sasquatch speaks?
Nothing we know about. I mean, we've heard it. We've actually heard voices speaking to each other in the forest during the wintertime, and we didn't understand it at all. So I have no. It's got to be their own, right? I mean,
It was definitely speech, and that was a very crazy day. That's the day that we found the footprints in the snow, and they weren't people footprints. I mean, these were giant Bigfoot-shaped footprints, and then this I don't know, 40-foot cliff ledge that you would have to climb up to. There's acres and acres of forested land up on top of this cliff ledge, but the only way to get up it is to scale it. And Jenny and I were going past that, and we heard voices up ahead. I mean, up above us, and we stopped and listened. And at first, you automatically want to blame people. That's your first instinct when you hear speech. And then I'm thinking, God, we haven't seen any people tracks back here. And this cliff that you've got to climb is covered in ice and snow. And so it didn't make sense for people to climb up onto this cliff ledge to have a conversation this winter day when we were out in the middle of nowhere, and all we were finding was Bigfoot footprints. But we listened to them converse back and forth for about a minute, and it sounded like human speech, but not a language I could understand. And we did have a camera rolling at the time, and the camera didn't pick it up. We probably would have taken a parabolic mic to capture this, and I'm a camera person. I don't pack the parabolic mic. It's usually when we have 4 or 5 of us that we have enough people that someone can actually carry that parabolic mic, so we didn't have it that day. It was just Jenny and I.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I picked up some chatter one day, and I sent it to this lady friend of mine out in Colorado. She's a Cherokee. She calls herself a Cherokee spiritualist on the reservation, but she teaches ancient language. And I sent it to her, and she sent it back to me, and said in my particular area, what she was hearing was what she called ancient Cherokee dialect and everything.
yeah, I believe that. Out of anything, that's probably most what it would sound like. Lots of halts and wilts and different little pops and clicks, but it did sound like a conversation for sure.
Heck yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Um, let me see. Let me think about it. Okay, Kelly. When you're out, let's say you left the camp for about an hour or so. Say you wanted to walk up and check a camera or something. Do you think squatches know what a knows what a game camera is, and do you think they learn to avoid it to a point, or do you think they'll do what they did to Scott Carpenter's, is lick it? What do you think
Uh,
they'll? What do you? Yeah, he's got a video with one licking the camera.
I don't think they know that you're capturing an image or a video of them. I think the reason they avoid them is the same reason why Bigfoot doesn't get caught in people's traps. They are careful and want to avoid man-made things. They don't trust our devices and stuff, so I think that's the main reason why they avoid them. But I also think with their ability to see at night, and I am a believer that they're mostly nocturnal because they do have such great night vision, and that's one of the reasons why people talk about the eye reflection or the eye shine or the glowing eyes. I I think their eyes can see in the infrared spectrum, and at nighttime the trigger mechanism is infrared on game cameras. That may
Yeah,
light up to them just like a laser
yeah,
and creates distrust. And even though we believe that they detect them and avoid them, everything makes a mistake. In my opinion, there's a few credible photos floating around of possible Bigfoot that have made mistake and got captured on a trail cam. Like one of them that was on Finding Bigfoot, for instance. It was out by the Bigfoot was standing by a hunting blind. And so it
yeah,
was easy to get a size comparison, but it was
yeah.
some magpies or some crows in the foreground that set off the camera and got the Bigfoot in the background. So there's, you know, things are going to happen. The odds will eventually play in your favor, even though they're avoiding them. You may still capture one making a mistake, or like a crow or a chipmunk sets that camera off at the right time, and you get the Bigfoot in the background. So I don't think they're worthless, but the Bigfoot are good at detecting them, and a lot of animals are. You'll have a deer or an elk or even a moose come right up, stare at the camera, and then the next frame it's licking it. So they know they're there. If those animals see it, Bigfoot certainly
All
sees
right,
it.
all right. So you're saying that Bigfoot's eyes can absorb light?
No, I didn't say absorb light, but I think that they reflect light just like any night-seeing animal. It passes through the eye twice and gives it that excellent night vision, and that's what gives you the glowing eyes. I think it's actually reflection from all other light
Yeah,
sources
yeah.
is why people think a Bigfoot's eyes glow. It's
I've
processing the light twice to see better.
I had a comment sent to me from John Hopkins University, and now this is just a theory of his, but he says um, one of the reasons that they can see at nighttime is because just like a cat or any nocturnal animal, their eyes draw light to see at night to a point, more or less terms. Like a human's eye cannot absorb light, cannot absorb light to see at night. But when we're out in the woods or something, and your eyes finally get used to the darkness, you can see a little bit.
Hmm.
But with the squatch, I would, to a point, I agree with him. To a point, I don't. I say that their eyes are like I say, like a mountain lion or a bobcat or an owl. It absorbs light for night vision, or just to see at night. I mean, that's my opinion of it, and that was the comment that was sent to me. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
they probably can see exactly just like an animal that can see in the dark.
Well,
I
what do you
believe
think?
I believe most every animal can see at night. Maybe not every animal, but wild anything in the woods that lives in the woods constantly has got to have some degree of night vision. Would wouldn't you all agree?
Yes, I do.
I mean, in general.
Yep.
Well,
Just
what
about
about?
every animal out there, its eyes give off eye shine when you
Oh
shine
yeah,
light on it. But
yeah,
people don't. It's because our eyes don't use the light twice. They use the light twice, and it gives us good reflection on them. So I
yeah.
I think Bigfoot has that, but I also think Bigfoot also takes it to the next level. I think Bigfoot probably has one of the best night visions in the animal kingdom.
I
Do you?
would think so too.
Okay. Derek, do you think Bigfoot is the missing link?
Wow. Well, obviously it's missing out of something because it's not in the science books. I mean, I
Somewhere.
might go down and say, is it one of the 12 tribes that are gone? No. I think it is just literally something from that's passed down through evolution that has just not been known to science yet. Something that's close enough and intelligent enough to stay away from man. I don't I don't even know exactly how else to answer that question. Um,
Every couple of years, it seems a new primate gets discovered, and I'm saying by science. I
Yeah.
mean, the local people are probably like, why are all these scientists here making such a big deal? Blah blah blah. It's the conga bunga monkey or whatever. And
Yeah.
the scientists are like, oh, ooh, this isn't in our textbooks. Blah blah. So every couple of years, you're hearing about a new primate, and
True.
there's hundreds and sometimes thousands of animals every year that's getting discovered by science. Bigfoot will eventually be one of them.
Yep.
Do you
And
think?
a lot of the local people are like, yeah, Bigfoot.
Do
We've been
you think?
telling it for dozens of years.
Do
Yep.
you do you think the government already has one, two, three, or four? Better yet, let's talk about. What do you think about Matilda? Do you think Matilda is real? That the government has? I mean, Matilda's through the Erickson project.
I don't know.
Okay, then the government claims that they got one. But the reason they said they will not release it as real is because of the people, like loggers and tree huggers and stuff like that. Now,
The logging industry.
yeah. So what's your opinion on it, Jenny?
Um, on that opinion, I have none. I don't know whether they have one or they don't. I don't believe, I wouldn't believe the government if they told me the sky was blue. So I don't know. I have no opinion on that. I just don't know. I don't know.
All right. What about you, Derek? This will be
uh,
good.
I don't believe by any means is the government forthright of a lot of things, and I think they have probable cause in some reasons not to be. Whether or not they have a specimen of the Sasquatch or not, um, well, I'm a knower. I know these animals exist, so I would not put it out of the realms of the government having one of these, having confiscated a dead animal or a dead carcass. You hear reports of it from all over, that there was a body once, it's now gone. Is it a whole UFO type thing? Is it an Area 51 type thing? You know, do they have one? I couldn't tell you one way or another, but it wouldn't put it past them to have one
I agree.
and not tell us.
Now, what about you, Kelly?
I'm not one to believe in government conspiracies when it comes to Bigfoot. I really don't think they give a rat's ass, to tell you the truth. But politicians are money driven. Yeah, they have no reason to give a crap about Bigfoot unless it can put money into their pocket. And if lobbyists, say for instance, the forest industry, everybody's always talking about that conspiracy. But if the logging industry is paying them to not identify Bigfoot for whatever reason, they're putting money into politicians' pockets, and they're going to go that route.
Yeah, because every time I've asked a politician, they'll start to say something, and then all of a sudden they'll stop and like, oh no, I can't answer that because I really don't know. You know, they'll
The logging industry got me elected, so yeah, Bigfoot doesn't exist.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Okay, now we are coming toward the end of the politician, end of the show here. So I'm gonna ask each one of you guys on your opinion, on your guess on this. Start with Kelly. What would your opinion? What would your advice be for someone who wanted to get into Bigfoot, as far as research and stuff?
Well, the best thing to do is look at it from a safety standpoint. When you go out hiking in the woods, like Derek said earlier, be prepared for everything. And it's, I don't know, in my opinion, it's real easy to get into fishing. You got to get your equipment, your rod, your reel, your bait. You want to get into bigfooting, get yourself a couple of cameras, some game cameras, get to know your area, your sighting reports, and find some good places to hike. Something else, get used to disappointment, get used to being skunked. I mean, you sit and listen to us talk about our experiences and stuff, but these are experiences, just about 10 years worth of experiences of us getting real serious. I know there was about a good 4 years there at the beginning where we just didn't find anything. I think it took us about 4 years before we actually found a footprint that was definitive enough that we're like, yes, that's a footprint. And it took a couple of years before we actually heard our first vocalizations. But even though Bigfoot's being seen in an area doesn't mean that it's there every year. I do think that they have a large territorial and move around in their territory, so it takes a lot of persistence to get action. You're going to get skunked more than hunting or fishing. I think it's about 5% of the time that we actually find something, but a lot of times when we find an area that's hot, we'll get on a roll, because once you get some vocalization, find some footprints or whatever, we don't want to go taking off anywhere. We keep coming back to that place, because that place is hot right now, they're there right now, and then all of a sudden overnight, bam, it all disappears, and then we're trying to figure out, well, where did this pod of Bigfoot go? And through our experience, I had this stereotype that Bigfoot was a loner. Bigfoot was, mostly a lone creature, blah, 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 blah. And that also plays into their elusiveness if there's just one. But in our experience, we're finding out when we find footprints, we're finding one or two other sets. They travel and stay in family groups. I think that's the norm. And it's like the rogue male is a lot more rarer than a little family pod of them. That to me is the norm through our experiences.
Do you think there's one per, say, like for 3 family clans? Do you think there's like one dominant one for each area?
An alpha male is what we like to call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we usually pin the largest footprints that we're finding, like in Sasquatch Canyon. The largest one has a 19-inch length foot. And then in Yellowstone Canyon, the largest one's 17 inches, and we just assume that this guy rules the roost. But we know for a fact the one in Yellowstone Canyon rules the roost with the 17-inch footprint, because he's the most aggressive Bigfoot we've ever dealt with. That one has screamed across clearings at us. We've gotten the most vocalizations out of him. He seems to parallel us and follow us the closest. He growled at Jenny one night, and I don't know. I'm not blaming that one on a bear or saying it was probably a bear. This was Bigfoot screaming at us that day, and the same day he growled at Jenny. But yeah, I like aggressive Bigfoots. I don't know if you guys follow us, but we go to places where people have some rough experiences with Bigfoot because we think the aggressive ones are going to give us a better chance of the type of sighting that we want, a close-up encounter. And this one in Yellowstone Canyon, there's some aggressive Bigfoot sightings in the area, and we've had some aggressive experiences with him, and hopefully shows himself to us one day. It is a high elevation place. It's over 10,000 feet, so we have a very short window to get in and out of there every year, and he's probably our best bet. So yeah, he's the alpha we've identified in the area with the 17-inch footprints.
Why do you think he gets aggressive?
Territorial. When we're in, he's the most aggressive when we're inside the boundaries of his territorial markers.
Because y'all are males.
Well, we're where his food supply is. We're probably where his family pod is. One thing that we've noticed inside of territorial markers, Jenny's type of job, she has to know property boundaries and stuff, and she come up with the idea the first couple of years that we were into this and we were finding structures in area. Jenny's like, well, let's put these on a map so that we can get an idea what's going on with these structures, and so we GPS them when we find them. The really big ones. We don't mess around GPS and little small ones. I mean the big ones, and we notice that they surround a territory in a pie shape, usually a triangle shape.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually where we get our followed, is when we're inside of these and finding footprints and stuff. Well, we noticed that the bear will come into most of these territories and stuff and live right along the Bigfoot, but in Yellowstone Canyon, you don't find bear footprints inside of those areas. You don't hear vocalization. That Bigfoot's aggressive, and he keeps those bear run out of there, I'm sure. But that place is loaded with food. There's raspberries, strawberries, acorns, pine nuts. I love hiking in the area. We'll sometimes lay down in a raspberry bush and eat a couple of dozen raspberries. But yeah, he's really aggressive. He's aggressive because he's got a good spot.
Yeah, because I noticed in my area that the biggest structures I got X's that are like 25 to 30 foot high and 30 foot wide.
Yeah.
And I've found 9 of them so far. And inside this area here is where I'm having all these juveniles and everything. I don't see the adults much. I hear them. You know, they'll do like dove sounds, you know. And I've learned that a dove, there's one particular note that a dove can make that a full-grown squatch cannot make. And he'll screw up on that sound every time, and I know it's a squatch. And besides, in my area, there's no dove in the woods. And these dove sounds, you'll hear one on top of the hill, then on my right, and you'll hear something down to my left. And doves around here live in cornfields, farming areas, you know.
Yeah.
And these dove sounds will follow. But all the action I'm getting is inside these X's, and they're like a quarter mile to a mile apart from each other, and it's in, like you said, it's in a pie shape. But of course we're right off the Blue Ridge Parkway too, so, and I do know in my area that they migrate, but they do come back and give birth to where they were born at. That's something I did learn about two family groups that moved that come in every year, and they'll go back to the same place that they were born at and give birth to their young. That's something I did learn, you know.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm still learning, you know, because every time I go in there, you know, I let my senses open up and I just listen. You know, I've done habit, you know, I've left food, you know, like cinnamon rolls and stuff like that, you know, and they've left me gifts like a little square with a X in it, and they'll make it like a little cup on the ground, you know, and put a pine cone in it or something like that, you know. But that's the juveniles doing that. I don't see much of the adults, and they're not very vocal. I hear chattering once in a while, but that's about. I've never heard any really loud yells or anything like that. But the baby crying has got me puzzled right now, so I gotta go to y'all's website and check that out. And if it sounds the same, I, then I can tell my friend, hey, what me and you heard that night was what we thought it was, and everything. Okay, one last thing for the thing, and this is for you, Jenny.
Okay. Okay.
Wait a minute, it just left me. Okay, anyway.
I have something I want to say before we all go too.
Okay. Okay, Jenny. Um, what's good advice from you into Bigfoot?
Be in tune with your surroundings. Use your eyes, your ears, your nose, smell everything. Just be in tune with nature. Pay attention to your surroundings. Listen, feel, see. Just really concentrate on where you are, and don't be distracted. Because if you're not going to pay attention, you're not gonna find anything. But that's my thing is be in tune with where you're at. Pay attention and
Okay,
act natural and not aggressive.
cool. Derek, your
Yeah.
opi- your thought.
It's sleep.
Um, my thoughts getting into it. Open your heart, open your mind to what you are doing when you're out there. A lot of what Jen just said there, being very in tune with nature. At the same time, I think, from somebody that has actually seen one of these animals, they are there, they are real, and know that. So you have to change your mindset on what you're looking at. I think in so many instances, there are, you know, uh, you could be staring something right in the face and not realize it for what it is, because you don't have the mindset and belief that, there's so many ranchers and farmers out there that probably have seen a Bigfoot, and as far as they are concerned, because of their mindset, it was nothing more than a bear. And it'll never be anything more than a bear because they don't allow themselves to understand the concept of these animals are a real physical being out there. So change that mindset. And I think that will help you get to what Jen just said, being in tune with nature and seeing that footprint. I bet you, oh, I don't know. How many of us, if you spend any time out in the woods, you've come across a footprint and just didn't even realize it. And it's because you're not in tune to that being there. You just don't expect it, so it's nothing. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I'll tell you, when I first got into it, didn't pay attention. I've been in since '81, and when I go in, I let all my senses kick in. I've noticed, you start to notice stuff that you never did before. Like I've learned when I see a tree snap, I look at it, I touch it, I feel it. I've noticed that if a squatch does it, when they snap it, it's got to either twist to the left
Yes.
or twist to the right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just stuff like that, you know, and footprints. I'm always looking at the ground because I track, you know, and I see 90% of the footprints I see you can't cast because I track in the leaves, and that's hard to do. I mean, I found some nice footprints, but I couldn't cast and everything. But
It's
you
rare
know,
to find a castable footprint. You'll find hundreds of them before you get lucky enough
exactly,
to find one that you can cast.
exactly. Okay, guys, I thank y'all. I'd like to have y'all back again next year, couple months, whatever, and see how y'all doing. When is where's y'all's next expedition going to be at, and when do we expect to see some juicy stuff from you? Yep.
We're going to be putting out a lot of expedition videos this winter. We just put an expedition video out. We uploaded it last night at YouTube, RMSO Bigfoot. You can also find it on www.rmso.net. You can get to our latest expedition video, but that expedition video has a couple of footprints we found a couple of days after a Bigfoot sighting, and then the cameras in the area that we collected, one of them had those unusual vocalizations. It's a 24-minute expedition video.
Cool. That sounds cool. Okay. That sounds good. Like I said, my name's Fred Caney, Valley Bigfoot and Inside Virginia Squatch. Want to get in touch with me, go to Facebook or my YouTube channel. It's Freddy59100. And stay by for my next show. Will be December 5th with Sharon Day. So, everybody, peace out.